Hello everybody, I'm going to talk about mental resilience or mental toughness today. So something that cropped up for me fairly recently is that I found a report based on my mental resilience many years ago. So in my last corporate job, before I started my own business, I completed a survey that was all around mental toughness, and it scored you out of 10 on how mentally tough you were. And I was quite shocked when I found this just the other day that I only scored a 3 out of 10. And I think at the time when I received the report, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't as confident then. I was very anxious a lot of the time. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know if I was on the right track with anything. So I was pretty proud anyway when I found this the other day to think, actually now I think I'd score myself an 8 or a 9. And that doesn't mean I'm not infallible and I don't have days where I just cry for no reason, or that when something upsetting happens I don't get upset. That is not what it is. But I cope better with life and I know how to look after my mental well-being. And I think I just feel I'm a bit calmer. It takes more to make me flap. And I think in a crisis, I cope better. So I'm going to give you some tips today so that you can slowly, because it doesn't happen overnight. You can't just watch this video and voila, unfortunately, I can't give you a magic spell that will make you more mentally resilient, but I can give you some tools and tips and techniques and things to think about so that you can go away, work on your mental toughness and hopefully feel a bit stronger. So, number 1. Number 1 is all about accepting change. So change is inevitable, and the trouble is, we as human beings, we get comfortable and change can frighten us. So if you go along through life and something crops up or someone mentions something that sounds scary or upsetting in the future, and you think to yourself, oh, I never allow myself to think about that, then you are not going to cope so well if it happens. So as an example, say you've got a dog. And I know this is sad and might touch on some nerves for a few people, but you've got a dog and your dog is getting older, and you never like to think about the fact that your dog is old, and you never like to think about the fact that your dog may not be here in a few years' time. Then when something does happen to your dog, and sadly it will, because your dog won't live forever. Dogs sadly aren't on earth as long as humans are. When that happens, you're going to be more in shock. It's going to be more scary. It's going to be more upsetting for you. So one of my dogs is getting older, and I'm using dog as an example. This could be about an elderly relative, or it could be about your job, and people being made redundant a lot at the moment, or it could be about losing the house you live in, or a relationship, anything that can cause loss. But when I think about my oldest dog, I don't dwell and think, oh, she's not going to be with us forever. But occasionally I just think, you know what, she's had a good life, and when the time comes, I will be ready for it. I accept that that's going to happen, rather than thinking, I'm not going to think about that, I'm not going to think about that. So that's the first thing, is preparing yourself a little bit, and also accepting that change will happen, that bad things will happen, sad things will happen, things won't always go to plan. Accepting that is part of life, accepting that the suffering and sadness is part of life, but that you will also be okay. So if I wanted to really get into it, and if, when my dog gets older and older, she's not super old yet, but if I feel like she's getting nearer the time, I might even do a meditation and actually picture myself without her. And I know that sounds awful and sad and negative, but actually I'll picture myself being okay. I'll picture myself being sad, but then being okay. So I'm using the extreme example there of losing someone, but like I say, it could be about anything. If you actually accept that change is a part of life, and you acknowledge that rather than not thinking about it, then you'll be more geared up to deal with change and loss when it comes. I hope that makes sense. So positive thinking is something that is bandied around, and I've heard people say, I can't just think positively, I can't just stop the negative thinking. And yes, that it's very hard, but it's not impossible. So if you look on my website or at some of my other videos, you'll see I've done lots of stuff about mindset and the way that you think. And it's not something you can do again just like that. It's something that takes time and practice. But if you practice things like mindfulness, meditation, you do affirmations or mantras, you journal regularly, you do gratitude lists and things like that, that will help you to become a more positive person. And you can always find something to be grateful for. So again, if we use my dog analogy, which I don't like doing, but it's inevitable, one day she will no longer be here. Instead of thinking, oh my God, that will be awful, how will we cope without her? Which, believe me, I feel all of those things. Even talking about it, I feel slightly anxious. But I can also think, I'm so grateful that she came into our lives. I'm so grateful that she lived as long as she did. I'm so grateful that she gave us all the love and joy that she brought. I'm so grateful for all the memories I have of her. I'm so grateful that my dog has lived as long as she has, that she came into our lives, and so on. So you can always find something to be grateful for, and you can change the focus of your thoughts. And if you train yourself to do that on a regular basis, so for example, today it's raining and I'm not really a fan of the rain. I like to walk in the rain now and then, but on the average day, I'd rather it be dry and sunny. But instead of thinking, oh, it's raining, I'm thinking, the plants in my garden are being watered, the earth is gaining water, the birds who like to drink out of the bird bath in my garden, they've got some nice fresh rainwater, it's good, all is right in the world, we're not living in a country in drought, blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean? You can turn any negative thought into a positive one. And if you train your mind to do that, and it does take time and practice, then you can deal with a crisis much easier. I'm not saying you won't fall apart, it won't be upsetting, but you can start to reframe things and think, actually, maybe I can find some good in this. Maybe I can project to the future and see myself as being okay again. So confidence is a tricky thing, and people who don't feel mentally tough and mentally resilient tend to not have very high self-esteem or very much confidence. And I completely understand where you're coming from. I never used to be full of self-esteem, in fact the opposite, or very confident in myself. But that doesn't mean, it's very easy to use that as an excuse. So you could say, I'm just not very confident, I've never had good self-esteem, and you could blame your parents or your teachers or whatever influences a past relationship, and you could say, actually, it's not my fault, this is the influences of others. But you know what? You are completely 100% responsible for your life, including how confident you are. So people who have been really knocked down and gone through terrible, terrible events, much worse than me, have come back and done amazing things. I have been very, very depressed, and now I am much more happy and I'm a much more confident person. And there's no easy, quick win, but there are books, there are training courses, there's tons of YouTube videos. If you are not a person who is confident, and I don't mean arrogant, I just mean self-assured, sure that you're on the right path, sure that you're doing the right things, confident about talking to people or whatever it is that you feel you want to be good at. If you can become confident at those things, you will better be able to deal with whatever life throws at you. So whatever it is that you need to do, if you don't feel confident right now, to become more confident, to raise that self-esteem, then do it. It might be therapy. Like I say, it could be books. There's so much resource out there, and we're living in an age where lots of things are free on the internet. So take those resources, look after yourself, and give yourself a big boost of confidence. Start pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and you'll become more mentally resilient as a consequence. So the next one is goal setting, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but if you feel like you're not in control of your life, then that will tend to lead to not feeling very mentally resilient, because, you know, life will just go all over the place and you can tend to coast, and that's when curveballs are thrown your way and you're not necessarily living to your full potential. So set some goals and work towards them, and that will help you to secure the future that you dream of. So if it's earning more money, or being fitter and healthier, or having better relationships, or living in your dream home, or traveling more, or achieving something in a hobby or interest of yours, whatever it is, set some goals and make some action plans and start working towards it with 100% commitment. You can achieve anything you want to if you really set your mind to it. Life coaching will help with that. Check that out on my website if you'd like some help. I coach people all around the place online. It's really, really helpful for a lot of people. So set some goals and then take action. That's the most important thing. People set goals all the time. Don't be one of these people who set goals or have a bucket list and then never ever do anything with it. Take action, chunk it down if it seems too big. So say you want to earn £1 million a year. That might sound completely crazy if you're only earning £20,000 a year, but how are you going to reach the £30,000 a year goal to start with? How are you going to do that? So chunk it down into small, bite-sized pieces, make a plan, get an accountability buddy or a life coach like me and work towards it. Because if you are in control of your destiny, you will feel so much more in control of life and feel more mentally resilient. So the next thing is stop stacking. So stacking is basically something goes wrong and then everything feels wrong. And if you're anything like me, you do this quite regularly. So for example, say I have a slight disagreement with my husband. So that's the first thing in the stack. And then I start thinking, you know what? I didn't eat very healthy today and I'm trying to lose weight. That goes onto the stack. And then I think I haven't achieved any of my goals this week. That goes onto the stack. And actually, I haven't heard anything from that friend that I text and she didn't reply to me. It goes on the stack. And before you know it, you've got this stack of problems that weren't even a problem before the first one. And everything seems bad and negative and you spiral. And before you know it, your head is filled with negativity, everything feels rubbish, and it's just really hard to get out of that spiral and get back to real life, which isn't that bad. So putting things into perspective is really key here. So when it's not always easy to do, but when you realise you've started to stack and you're starting to spiral, close your eyes, take a deep breath, sit back and imagine yourself zooming out. And by that I mean just floating above your body and you're looking at yourself sitting there and you're above the building that you're in, and then you're going up into the sky and you just zoom out more and more and more slowly until eventually you're up in space or up on the moon and you're looking down at the earth spinning slowly, and you just get a bit of perspective and think, are these problems I've got, first of all, can I solve them? Because 9 times out of 10 you can, by taking affirmative action. Yeah, are they real problems or are they just first world problems? Am I just stacking? Am I just being negative? What can I do to change my mindset? So zoom out, put things into perspective, and the more you do that, the more tough you will become. So the last one kind of encompasses all of the things we're doing here really, but it's about self-care. And by that, I mean taking time to look after your mental well-being, taking time to look after your body and show a bit of self-love. And I promise you, if you, and I'm not going to go into lots of self-love stuff here because I'm already rambling on long enough. Find some books, some other videos. I'll do another one on self-love and self-care if you'd like. Comment below and let me know if you'd like to see more on that. But if you can practice self-love, you will just feel more mentally resilient. All you need to have a happy, fulfilling life is the right mindset and a reasonably healthy body. Your health is all that really matters. And if you can look after your mindset, you're onto a winner. There are people that have had awful, terrible, horrific events, things you can't even imagine happen to them, and they bounce back because they've got the right mindset. So practice self-love, practice self-care, do some of these other things in my video, and you will slowly begin to become more mentally resilient and mentally tough. Now, that's just a few of many, many ideas and tips and inspiration that I can give you to become more mentally resilient. So if you'd like to hear more, again, comment below or drop me a line. We can do life coaching together if you'd like to work through some mental wellbeing stuff. Always happy to help people one-on-one. And I work with people all over the place via online chat, in video calls and stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, because I'd love to grow my YouTube channel. Please share this with a friend who may need it. Please subscribe to my channel and check out sarahlouisesmith.com for lots more ideas, advice, inspiration and motivation to live your best life. I'm so grateful that you watched this video. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.